Hello all. Thank you for stopping by my channel today. Today I'm doing another video in my do's and don'ts series, and today it's going to be the do's and don'ts of moving. So let's get right into this. Welcome to Kat's Crazy Corner. So moving is something that a lot of us have had to do at least a couple of times in our life. And we may have to do it again in our lifetime. I'm not an expert on everything moving, but I am pretty savvy when it comes to moving because unfortunately I have had to move several times. So some of this stuff is going to be firsthand advice that I have for you since I have moved as many times as I have, unfortunately. Others, I did some research to find out a few things because, frankly, I've never hired a mover. I've never had hiring a mover money. I've never had enough money to do that. So I've always had to rely on, my significant other at the time, friends and family, and just myself to do it. So these are going to be some tips and tricks that I have myself, as well as that I picked up from like Wikipedia and just, Google. Google's always a great tool. Look stuff up there. So one of the things you're going to want to do is plan ahead. Make a list. The list can include stuff that you're going to need for your move. The things that you will definitely need for your move is going to be packing tape, boxes, markers for clearly marking things, bubble wrap, for padding things, newspaper if you wrap stuff in that kind of stuff. Make sure that if you need a dolly because anything is extra heavy, just make sure that you have enough of everything that you're going to need. The second thing that you want to do is plan at least at 1 day for each room that you're packing up to move. Now, granted, we've all done it last minute. We've all waited till the last minute to pack up our stuff, which is great. But again, you don't want to really rush moving, especially with delicates and breakables, valuables, things like that. Plus, if you're rushing, you sometimes tend to bring stuff with you that you may not necessarily need to bring with you. So that's another thing. Do downsize if you can. You're going to get new things when you move into a new place because you're probably going to change your mind on certain things, what each room is going to be like, the theme, so to speak, where you want things placed, and a lot of times when we move, we just want to go out with the old and in with the new. So when you are packing your rooms up, you should have 3 piles. At least I used to have 3 piles. I would have donate, trash, and packing, clearly. So, you can always donate a lot of good things as you go refer to my do's and don'ts of donations video to tell you the things that you should, just toss out or whatever. And then what you also would want to do is you want to make sure that you have a date set for exactly what the date is that you're moving, the time that you're wanting to move. Make sure that you get your friends or family ready, let them know. Don't let them know last minute because, most people do make plans last minute. I mean, not last minute, but they make plans ahead of time. So, let friends and family know, start asking at least a month in advance. And then, a couple weeks beforehand, get that solidly put in place exactly, who's going to help and if you're using a moving truck or if you're just going to use each other's vehicles, however you're going to do it. Make sure you do plan that all out. That's always a good thing to do. The other thing that you should do is know the size that you're moving to. Because maybe it's a little smaller than what you're moving from, so that's another reason to downsize some of your stuff is because maybe you're not going to have the same amount of space that you had before. So make sure you know that as well. And kind of obviously most of us see what we're moving into before we move in. And that way you kind of have an idea of the layout. So you'll know where you want things to go kind of ahead of time. So if you are going to hire a mover, there are a few things that you do want to, there are things that you do and don't want to do as far as movers go. So you do want to meet the movers in person ahead of time. They should come to your house or apartment or mobile home, whatever it is that you're living in. They should come and check out the space to look at exactly all the things that you're talking about moving, especially with bigger items, because if you try to just do an estimate online, it's not going to be very accurate. Even if you put in, I have a sleeper sofa and I have 2 queen size beds, it's still, there's probably things that could pop up at a later time. So you definitely want them to come out and give you as close of an estimate as possible from them visually seeing exactly how many rooms they're going to be, doing and things like that. The other thing you want to do is you would want to pack up your own stuff. It will save you a lot of money compared to if you have movers do it, because that's a lot of extra expenses. I mean, most of us probably don't have that kind of money to have the movers pack everything as well. So that's also somewhere that you could save some money too if you do decide to use a mover, is to pack up your own things, especially the non-breakable things, non-fragile things, because those will save you money. And as far as the fragile and valuable things, don't put those on a moving truck if you use movers. There's a few reasons for that, because they're valuables. Like, there's a lot of moving companies that will state, they're not responsible for lost or stolen, or, however they word it in their paperwork, damaged, stuff like that. Most of the moving companies should have some sort of an insurance, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But if they don't, and your stuff gets broken, now you just don't have anything. The other aspect of that is you do want to make sure that your renter's insurance or homeowner's insurance policy is up to date, because that way, if there is things that get damaged, either from movers or from your friends and family, at least you know that you have some insurance to cover, especially if it's like a TV that gets dropped. You've seen videos of TVs dropping and, oh, now the TV's gone. Well, it's great to have the insurance to cover that kind of stuff. So do make sure that your insurance policy is up to date, and ready to go, your homeowner's insurance policy, whatever that is. Do make sure that when you mark your boxes, don't mark them with what they are. Like, don't mark it books, knickknacks, dishes. Mark it with the room that it's going to go into, especially if you're using movers. That's very helpful, because otherwise you're going to have to explain to them, where do the knickknacks go? What room did this? So mark your boxes very clearly and mark them with the room they're specifically going to go into. That way, when if you use movers, they can just put it right into those particular rooms, without you having to give them much direction, which is always going to be a good thing. And this the same goes with your friends. That way your friends aren't going to be constantly asking, where do you want this to go? Where should I put that? What should I do with this? What you don't want to do when you're packing is overpack boxes. That means, don't make them so extremely heavy that it's going to take 2 or 3 people to lift them, especially if you live in an apartment building or something and maybe there's no elevators. Yes, there still are apartments that are like that. Nobody wants to try and have 3 people carrying some big, awkward, heavy box up 3 flights of stairs, So make sure that you're not overpacking, as well as if you overpack, the bottom of the box could break out, depending on what you put in it. And the other thing with the packing too is, don't just throw the boxes all nilly-willy, make sure you stack them nice and decent. It's going to be a lot easier to pick them up, move them, get them transported to wherever you need to go. And the other thing is don't mix a lot of different things together. Don't put books and dishes together. Even if they go in the kitchen together, you should still pack your recipe books in a separate box from your dishes, because again, things can happen, and you don't want to have stuff like valuables in with books and then they hit a bump and bam, now a book just crushed a beautiful plate that you've been saving, So make sure that you do that too. Don't mix and match too many items into one box in and of itself. You don't want to distract your movers, that's for sure, because if they're trying to move, especially something heavy like a couch or a dresser or a bed or something, if you distract them, they could drop things, they could hurt themselves, they could fall, there could be any number of things that could happen. So just make sure that you don't distract your movers, or your friends for that matter, friends and family either, because they're human too and things can happen. So just keep that in mind too, is you don't want to do that kind of a thing. You also don't want to move anything that's gas powered with the actual gas in it. It can be very dangerous. It can be very flammable. It can, start fires. Anything could happen. So make sure if you are moving anything that's got gas in it that you drain the fuel out before you move that item, just to prevent anything. The gas could spill out because maybe the cap wasn't as tight as you thought it was or something like that. So just make sure that you drain the gasoline out of those items, as well as don't pack anything that's flammable or perishable. Those are things that you can actually transport yourself. You don't want to put those in a friend's vehicle or even in the moving truck, because again, if something happens and things get damaged or wrecked, you don't want to be held accountable because, the person will feel bad, especially if it's a family or friend. They'll feel bad that something happened to your items and stuff like that. So you want to try and keep that from happening. You want to also move houseplants yourself. Because most movers, especially if you hire a mover, most movers will not be responsible for those. Those are not a very valuable item, and it's not something that they're going to take particular care with either. So just move houseplants yourself. It'll be a little bit easier, as well as you won't have to worry about something happening to them, and you won't have to worry that, they get damaged or anything like that, and then they won't cover anything that happens to them. So do that as well. Don't hire a moving company if they do not have some sort of liability insurance, because again, anything could happen. What if they don't see the pothole in the road driving to your new place and bam, now you've got a bunch of broken dishes, and who's going to take care of it? Well, if the moving company doesn't have liability insurance, they're definitely not going to cover it. And if you don't have homeowners or renters insurance, you're SOL, right? You're just screwed. Now you're going to have to buy all new dishes or whatever. And in saying that, also ask the insurance company to give you proof. Ask for a certificate of insurance as proof that they have insurance, because they could, again, tell you anything. So make sure that you get that so you have it in hand, and that way they can't dispute something if there is a claim to anything. And make sure that you read the fine print on those little moving company contracts, because there may be stuff in there that you didn't pay attention to, or that they just neglected or accidentally forgot to tell you that, anything over 20 miles is going to cost you 58 cents per mile, or you have to pay for the gas in the truck, or, you have to make sure that you have insurance for this, that, or the other thing. Just cover all your bases when you use a moving company, because they can nickel and dime you, and then all of a sudden it ends up being thousands and thousands of dollars to you. And most of us don't have, that kind of income to just throw out the window to somebody that we don't know. And make sure that you tip. Don't forget to tip your movers. Are you obligated? Absolutely not. But why would you not want to tip them if they do a really great job? Or let's say you have really heavy furniture in your house that they're moving. I know that I would feel a lot more appreciated if I got a tip to go along with whatever my hourly wage is if I'm lifting and doing a lot of strenuous work. And the same with your friends and family. You don't have to necessarily tip them, but make sure that you pay them in some way, shape, or form. Tell them, hey, I'm going to order pizza and soda for everybody, or I'm going to give everybody $20 gift card for gas, or whatever it is. And even if they tell you don't need to do that, or they're not going to accept it, at least you offered something to them. And you don't have to worry that you feel bad that maybe they felt like you took advantage of them. You don't ever want to do that. Another thing is, don't forget to check the moving truck and the vehicles of friends and family that you use before anybody leaves the property, just to make sure that nothing was left in anybody's vehicles or cars, or, tucked under something by accident or slid and nobody saw it. So that way nothing gets left behind or damaged at a later date. And make sure that you double check the place that you're leaving from too, because I can tell you, I personally have an experience where I didn't check a closet before I moved, and it was from one state to another. By the time that I got to this to the state that I was moving to, it had been 3 days when I called to find out they had already thrown all of my stuff away. And guess what was thrown away? Memorabilia, pictures, journals, like stuff that I can never ever replace. You know, it was the irreplaceable stuff. And I cried because, you know, stuff like that is very devastating. So you don't want to miss out on losing things like I did because you didn't check a closet. So just double check your houses as well before you leave the property to make sure that you have gotten everything off the walls, everything out of closets, off the floors. You know, just make sure that you're not missing anything. You know, and have fun if you can. You know, especially if you're using friends and family, you know, just don't go too crazy, but it shouldn't be such a strenuous, hard activity for you. Moving should be something that, you know, you can do quickly and efficient as long as you plan for it. So do plan for it. Do make prior arrangements. Do meet with your movers if you're hiring a moving company. Don't overpack. Don't let them be responsible for your valuables. Don't pack flammables. Make sure there's insurance involved of some sort with you or yourself, and make sure to show your appreciation to the movers or to your friends and family. And I thank you for watching my video. I hope it was insightful and helpful. And please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to leave me comments. Give me suggestions on some do's and don'ts that you would like to see me cover, or a topic that you think would be fun for me to do. Make sure that you share this with your friends and your family so they can join Kat's Crazy Corners party. Woo-woo. And we'll see you on the next video. Hope everybody has an enjoyable rest of their day. Bye-bye.